Sean is a 30-second delay.
75-second delay.
Yeah. That's fucking weird.
It's like he doesn't get the joke, and then all of a sudden he's going to get the joke in just a second.
I hate all of you so much.
Dude, it looks so weird, dude. It looks like he's talking, but he's not talking. It's the weirdest fucking thing.
Freaking ventriloquist right now. Come on, Pinocchio.
No, I will not fight you.
Hogan.
Oh, he's catching up. You see how fast he went?
Hey, what was that one guy's fucking move in Street Fighter? Like
Ryu?
Oh, Vega?
No.
Vega.
It was the fucking the G.I. Joe guy. What's his name?
Bishop. There's Bishop.
It's like Sonic Boom.
The Street Fighter name is Ghoulie.
Ghoulie.
Was he Guide? Was it Guide? I feel like he was a guide.
It's Guile.
While
There's Gilles. He's French. Come on now.
I still like give you like props for rocking Hotmail, dude. That's pretty fucking cool.
You know what? I never thought it was actually something to be embarrassed by until you guys started making fun of me. And now every time somebody's like, "What's your email?" I'm like,
get a fucking Gmail like everyone else, bro.
I do have a Gmail, but you know what?
Be different. Get a Y-mail.
Brandon, how do you get that? Is that something new?
He's like, yeah, you just need to get on AOL. That's what you need to do.
Sometimes the fucking resurgence of Hotmail.
I'm gonna be
like, and actually get on Net Zero because that was actually a good fucking.
That's like AOL.
We actually, we honestly should know.
Welcome back to another episode of Season 3 of 3.5 Gentlemen, the podcast, where 3 of the 4 hosts provide a refined and intellectual analysis of movies for our private collections, and one of us tries desperately to keep up. We'll let you decide which host is which, but for now, my name is Sean, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts, Jeremiah.
Freedom!
Eddie. How was it not this freedom?
That's his brain part.
Sorry about that.
Oh my god.
Eddie?
I will see you again, but not yet.
And
not yet.
Brandon.
Not yet. Not yet.
Strength and honor?
This season, we've decided that each host will pick a film from each decade from the 70s to today that exemplifies each time period. Some of the films will be underrated, some classics, while others will be overrated piles of cinematic crap. To finish off each decade, the hosts will have a group pick that wraps up the decade in style. As with every review we give, our goal is to answer one simple question: how many drinks does it take to get through the film we've just watched? At the end of the podcast, we'll rate the movie based on a scale of 0 to 5, 0 being the perfect film that you can watch stone cold sober, and 5 being the sort of film that makes you want to suffocate your father to gain power of the empire.
I see what you did there. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into shit things like that.
In addition to our review, we always pair our selection with a cocktail that we hope will enhance the viewing experience. This season, we want to focus a little bit more on the cocktail selection, so please feel free to shake, stir, or mix the cocktail that we've chosen and settle in for what we hope will be an engaging review. With that, what movie do we have this evening, Brandon?
Tonight, we have another entry in our 2000 film decade saga, and that's going to be 2000 Sword. Sword and Sandals epic Gladiator.
Sword.
Which, by the way, is my pick. Set in Roman times, and aging Marcus Aurelius, played by the incomparable Richard Harris, is on the brink of death and his power passing to his son, Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix.
A baby Joaquin Phoenix.
Baby Joaquin. Instead, he pledges to make his best general, Maximus, played by Russell freaking Crowe, leader of Rome until the Senate is ready to take on that weighty task. Upon learning this, Commodus, I was going to say Commodius, but it's actually Commodus. Commodus betrays and murders his father and sends Maximus to death. When Maximus escapes, he is forced to become a common gladiator. When Commodus realizes that Maximus is alive, he sets about a plot to kill the most popular gladiator. This is Ridley Scott directed masterpiece, is rated an 8.5 on IMDb, and has a critic score of 77%, as well as an audience score of 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. The all-star cast is rounded out by Derek Jacobi, Jaimin Hansu, Connie Nielsen, and Oliver Reed.
God, Oliver Reed was the shit in this movie, dude. Fucking blessing.
We will be talking about Oliver Reed, trust me.
Jeremiah?
Before we get into our cocktail selection, we need to just talk about whose film this is, and additionally, what our initial impressions of this movie were before sitting down to watch it. Since this is Brandon's film, and believe me, this is Brandon's film. Yes, Roma Victor. Here he is. He's going to get it started.
SPQR. So I've got an interesting, fun story about this. Years and years and years ago. I'm going to say it's probably the year of 2000 because that's when this thing came out.
In the year
Um,
2000.
my parents and I, we were over at this ancient store called Blockbuster, and we were roaming the aisles, and it was like a Friday night or a Saturday night or something. And we found these two movies that had just come out on DVD, and we were like, yeah, let's watch these. We've heard good things about them. And so we rented them. But the problem was we rented them, and it was literally like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And we're like, we only got them for one night, so let's just watch both of them. And it was literally like a roll of the dice which one we were going to watch first. And the first one that won was The Patriot with Mel Gibson.
Oh,
So we watched
That's a long movie.
we watched
awesome.
that one. Literally, and I remember loving that movie, and I still do like that movie a lot. So it was probably like, I don't know, 11:30, 1 o'clock when we decided, hey, let's put Gladiator in since it's got to go back in the morning. And my parents weren't about to spend the extra $1.70.
Like I said, you come by it naturally, you cheap bastard.
So put it this way, I struggled literally to keep my eyes awake for the entire 2.5 hours of Gladiator. And when it finished at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever it was, I remember looking at my half asleep parents and saying, that is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I hate it so much. And it took me literally watching the Oscars, because I love watching the Oscars, and watching it win Best Picture and being pissed enough to say, that's it, never watching the Oscars again, which, by the way, I say pretty much every year. Anyway, I ended up just getting it.
A bunch of trash.
I got the movie free when I sent in a bunch of like the box tops, like
Oh my God, Brandon, you're so cheap. You're such a cheap
I got the movie
motherfucker.
free. It was
Keep
like,
going, Brandon.
like,
Keep going.
No, this is a true story.
Brandon,
it's like a
keep
general,
going.
General
going.
Mills. You get the cereal box tops, and you send it in. They send you a movie, and they sent me Gladiator, and I was so pissed because I hated this movie so much. But I was like, I'm going to just try it one more time. And I watched it, and I realized I was the biggest idiot in the world because it is literally, I think, and I do mean literally, one of the most engaging films out there. And I am like diehard fan since about 2001 when I got a free copy from General Mills. So thank you, cereal people.
So you were entertained, huh?
I
You
was
was
so damn.
entertained.
No, I was unentertained because I was still like wrapped up in Revolutionary War Mel Gibson. And I mean, jumping over to Rome in a half hour's time was a little bit much. So anyway, Eddie, what you got?
Dust and shadows, that's all we are, just dust and shadows.
Dust in the Wind? I like Kansas.
I like Kansas too, actually.
Good band.
So I remember this movie watching in the movie theater. And I remember watching it with Jeremiah, and I think I remember watching it with our dad as well.
Oh yeah.
And it was a movie where I think we weren't ready what to expect in the movie theater. It was definitely a movie that I think it left all of us really happy. And I mean, I think I was 14 at the time. So it was a movie where I was all about Rome. Like, I was all about history of Rome, Julius Caesar, Mark Antony. I studied Rome for a long time, and I was about this movie. I thought this movie was the bee's knees. I thought it was better than Braveheart. I just thought but I look at Braveheart now and I was like, nah, I like Braveheart.
That's a pretty weighty thing to say. I don't know. That's
at
like
the time. This is yeah. But I mean, like, it's a movie that it's definitely holds its own. It's like you never see it. Every movie, one of these movies, they hold their own in that time of era, and this one, Gladiator, holds its own in Rome. It's a hard movie to make.
Yeah,
Jeremiah.
I'll piggyback on Eddie right there. I remember seeing this movie with Eddie, and I remember it was actually like one of those very first movies in the theaters. So it was like before summer blockbuster. Like, it was like released in the beginning of May or something like that. So I was just like, whoa. And I remember this is one of my very first DVDs that I ever bought. And I remember this was a big deal because it was a double disc DVD, which you didn't really see that much when the first DVDs came out. So I was like, oh shit. And then on top of that, it was like this 6.1 DTS sound mix, or like, oh shit, it's gonna be huge and whatnot. And at that time, like Eddie was talking about, our father, he bought this new home entertainment system, right? And that DVD was playing constantly. So it brings like this nostalgic feeling to it, watching this movie again. This was a fun viewing of this film, and yeah, I can't wait to talk about this guy.
Sean, you've seen this film a strong one time.
One time.
Recently too.
Today actually. So there's a couple movies that I like as a movie lover, I'm delinquent in watching. Saving Private Ryan is definitely one of them.
We'll be doing that.
And then this one was kind of the other one that I mean, there's a lot of movies I haven't seen, but these are the two like mainstream movies that I feel like I missed the boat on, and I don't know where I was. I have no idea like why I didn't go watch this, but they're also not my favorite movies. So the high gore, high blood, and like guts are not something that I enjoy as a movie. And I always have had that in the back of my mind. I've associated that with this movie is kind of heavy violence, heavy blood, heavy everything. And that's just not really my style. So when I did sit down to watch it, the beginning battle did not help, but I was very kind of apprehensive to watch this movie. So
well, I mean, it's pretty tame. Minus the chicken cut literally in half.
Yeah, like you've seen worse things on Game of Thrones than you've seen in this movie.
I didn't like it in Game of Thrones. So anyway, so we can get into it.
Have
Brandon,
some discussion.
Or Eddie, why don't you take us through the cocktail?
Yeah, definitely. As we mentioned earlier, with each movie, we try to pair the tone, feel, and the overall impact of the story of a cocktail. This season, we really want to discuss the cocktail and more and how it links up to a movie selection. So, guys, let's talk about the cocktail this episode. Everyone who listens knows when we finally watch a Bond movie, we'll pair a vodka martini, shaken, not stirred, with a lemon pill. We'll see if that happens. Supposedly in 3 episodes.
No, 2 episodes, actually.
But tonight's
we'll find a way to stretch it out.
Right? Seriously, something will happen. It'll get canceled. But tonight's cocktail was chosen by Brandon. So he'll be taking us through the cocktail. Brandon?
So tonight's drink was inspired by the Swords and Sandals epic. And like the film, it can be hard to get through, but finishes quite nicely. Sean, that is such a...
Wait. Is this drink called Swords and Sandal? Is that what the drink is called?
Like, you know what?
I'll just drink the script. Go ahead.
Okay. You know what? This drink doesn't taste good.
Is it called the Swords and Sandal?
Sucks even worse.
Is it called the Swords and Sandal?
The Gladiator.
The Gladiator.
It's called the Gladiator.
Where does it say that?
It doesn't say that in the script, so we're just going to go with it. So
once
anyway,
again, if you motherfuckers want to write the script, you are welcome to take my job.
Listeners out there, let me go through this again as Sean would have it. So this is a drink that, like the movie, sucks at the beginning, and the aftertaste sucks even more. With that said, if you want to taste this delicious drink, in my opinion, you're going to have some amaretto, some bourbon, some orange juice, and a splash of Sprite. For a complete recipe, visit our website at thegentlemanpodcast.com or on Instagram at the.gentlemanpodcast. I get to say it at the.gentlemanpodcast because the dot means a lot. Oh, I got to say it.
You know, on paper, this drink looks really good.
It does. Yeah. Let's see what it tastes like.
Yep.
I mean, you can't go wrong with amaretto. Jesus, Sean, could you take a bigger drink? God, I like it. It's good. Oh, shut up, Sean. It goes down bitter at the beginning, but you know what?
The orange juice is healthy.
It feels good. Swords and Sandals.
Well, amaretto, you can't go wrong with amaretto.
Hey, question, guys. What happened to DreamWorks Pictures? I mean, remember when, like, in the early 2000s, like DreamWorks was just like in every fucking film, and all of a sudden, like, it's not there anymore?
DreamWorks is still doing pretty decent.
Around, or did it?
No,
yeah,
it's still around.
I think DreamWorks became something else. I think they sold it. I think they sold it to something else, as I remember. Maybe I'm wrong.
Dude, I remember every movie, like, seriously coming out in the summer blockbuster was like something like DreamWorks.
Did DreamWorks fully go to Universal? I bet that's what it is.
I think it might have.
Yeah. So that's actually a really good place to start. I want to say something that is controversial, and I want to start here. In my opinion, and one thing that I know that all of us share is a love of music, especially music and movies. And obviously for Sean, definitely John Williams, and Jerry, you appreciate John Williams like crazy too.
Absolutely. I do too.
But fine.
Bro.
I was going to put you on my team, but okay, fine, whatever. I have a soft spot in my heart for Hans Zimmer, and I think that this movie and this score is Hans Zimmer's masterpiece. I know that people go to Pirates of the Caribbean as his go-to, but to me, it's Gladiator, 100%.
In the middle of this movie, I think that you can argue that Pirates and Gladiator are the same score.
Sean, don't you feel like your connection's losing out a little bit? And you're just going to go away?
No, I agree with you 100% on that, Brandon, because this is one of the very first movies that really introduced me to Hans Zimmer. Like when I first heard this score, I kept playing this DVD just to hear the score, and it's so fucking big, dude.
I remember that.
Yeah. Even though we hated the movie collectively as a family before I watched it again for free and then told everybody, no, we should really watch this again. I remember my mom got the soundtrack, the CD of this, and we would listen to it in the house because we were just, we played piano and we enjoyed listening to music, and it was just kind of on in the background, I would say, for weeks at a time. And to me, there's scenes where you hear the music and it swells, and it's not really the normal Hans Zimmer, that he's kind of become. That it was a quieter, I would say, a little bit more artistic Hans Zimmer,
especially when the DreamWorks title came up and it's all gold, and you hear this like little music in the background. Then it goes into the first main battle. It just sets the whole movie up. I'm like, oh shit, And again, it's just it's like a nostalgic feeling. I love this. This is probably one of Hans Zimmer's underrated piece right here.
It really is. Yeah. Sean, I feel like you want to say something.
Let me just say, well, I do, because you kind of disparaged me.
No. I said you love John Williams. Yeah, that's good.
I do.
Everybody loves him.
I love John Williams. I love Howard Shore. I love a big score. That's one of my favorite parts about a movie. But Hans Zimmer, there's a couple of them. Hans Zimmer, and then who's the guy who did Sunshine? Is that Hans Zimmer?
John Murphy.
That's John Murphy.
John Murphy. I like John Murphy a lot.
There's a couple of really good, almost like electronic scores, like tonal scores.
Clint Mansell.
I think Hans Zimmer might have done the Batman trilogy.
Yeah, he did. Well, he and Howard Shore. He and Howard Shore went together on that one. Wasn't it Howard Shore?
I thought it was James Horner.
James Horner. James Horner's dead.
He died like a couple years ago, Sean.
I thought he died.
You guys keep talking.
Anyway,
I'm gonna use this.
Eddie, what do you think about the beginning?
The beginning was honestly, I think the costumes, the outfits, it made you felt like you jumped in to like instantly to a time of a war that's going on with Rome against the barbarians. I mean, I read about these battles, so it's cool to see that and how Rome was so powerful. And you already got the idea of that the emperor of Rome was not doing well. So I like the different layers of. You just got this feeling, though, that they loved the general, Russell Crowe, just instantly. His men, they fought for him, and he knew his men. It was badass.
Since I'm right on time, real quick, it was James Newton Howard. And
okay.
that, Sean, I think is who you're thinking of, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Marcus Aurelius, as the character, so first of all, Richard Harris is fantastic. He's one of the greatest actors of all time.
Did you just feel like you were watching Dumbledore just again?
A little bit, yeah. What I loved about it, his respect for, his realization that Maximus was the one. No, was the one they were cheering for. It wasn't him. It wasn't his victory. It was Maximus's victory. And you got such that stark difference between him and Joaquin Phoenix later. Is Joaquin Phoenix wanted a personal victory, and Marcus Aurelius was doing what was better for Rome. And instantly you got this I love Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, well, we get that sense where he's got the two lines, I think, that really kind of stand out, and it really sets the tone for our understanding of Commodus as a character, of Joaquin Phoenix's character. Right, one is when he looks at Maximus and he says, "You're the son that I never had, or I wish that I'd always had." And then he also says, Commodus cannot be emperor. He just straight up tells us that, and 5 minutes later, he's suffocating Papa.
Well, and he has
but
another
we get that
line
sense,
too,
right?
Yeah, he's got that line when he's with Commodus, when he says, "Your failures as a son are my failures as a father." That to me,
that's not. Sorry, keep going.
No. I think it set up this. It was a great line because you got this he was taking responsibility for how shitty his son turned out.
Not a good time to tell your son that.
But
right when
it comes full circles to Russell Crowe, dude. The moment he gets on screen, he is badass. When you watch this movie, you're just like, dude, Russell Crowe was a movie star, dude. He
really was, yeah. And when we talking about that first shot where he's walking through and everybody's bowing and nodding their heads, and basically it's general. And then he dips down when he becomes the gladiator and becomes this nothing, but really quickly he jumps back up. And so one of my favorite parts is when it's his turn to go in to fight the gladiator battle, and it's the exact same shot, exact same angles basically of him walking through the line, and everybody, instead of saying general, I think they just say Maximus at that point. But you get the sense that he commands the people around him, not only just with power, but this idea of respect and goodness. I don't even know what you really call it.
He's a leader.
I think,
he's
a leader.
Exactly.
He's a leader. He's a general, and people respect him because he's willing to go out there first and stick his neck out before anyone else. Like, he'll fight with his people. It was crazy to see. I think Joaquin Phoenix, he played a great role with, like, you almost instantly hated him. Yeah. And he had this relationship with his sister that was awkward. And I feel like the sister was just playing into it because the king or emperor was still alive.
No, I wouldn't say the sister was playing into it.
I think she was terrified of him.
Yeah.
No, but in the very beginning, like when they were like took like a 2-week like, oops, we got lost. The war over. Like she was just in there with him, like, and she didn't. Yeah, she didn't. She didn't seem as worried for her life until her dad died, and I was just like, I mean, it was one of those things. Maybe that's how it was back in that time. But it's also a lot. I loved how he killed his dad. Like, that was a real issue back in that time with Rome. Like, it made it believable because there was a lot of killings like that. Emperors, young emperors died, old emperors died randomly because of their sons just wanting the throne and power.
Well,
so it was cool. It made it believable of like Rome.
There's a couple of things about this why it works. Is that Russell Crowe is not really a general. He's more of a farmer and whatnot, and you can tell that because every time in each battle, he's rubbing the dirt on his hand. And it's not for him to get ready for battle or anything like that. Smelling the dirt before each fight connects Maximus to his home and to his family.
Well, I think go ahead.
It's reiterated by two things, Jeremy. I think you're absolutely right. Number one is when Marcus Aurelius asks him what he would, he's going to basically give him anything he wants. The first thing he says is, I want to go home.
Yeah.
Like the first thing. And number two, I have to make a comment about this because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But it's another Ridley Scott, Russell Crowe movie.
Goodyear.
Called A Goodyear. And in that movie, he reaches down, Russell Crowe reaches down to the vineyard and he takes the dirt in his hand and he smells it and it's chicken shit. And he coughs and like it's disgusting. And it just I never knew where that came from, and now I know where it came from.
You know, just on a side note, when this movie was presented to Russell Crowe, I guess the script was really bad or something like that. And someone asked him, "Why did you take it?" He goes, "Because it's $100 million film. It's gonna be directed by Ridley Scott, and I'm gonna play a Roman general. Like, why would I not fucking take it? Seriously, it's like a dumb fucking answer, dude. It was so fucking good."
I want to go back a little bit, Sean, what you were saying, because that's what I have. One of the things I have in my notes is that I'm a huge Ridley Scott fan, even though I don't like all of his movies, which I know sounds kind of weird, but I respect the hell out of what he does. And what I like about him is he's so. My notes is that he's basically like a Jerry Bruckheimer and a Michael Bay director, but he does it on an artsy art house level, right? The way that he uses kind of things floating through the air, whether it be pieces of grain or snow or ash or whatever it is, it's just beautiful. But he's able to do a movie like this or Black Hawk Down or even The Martian, but then he turns around and does two movies like Matchstick Men and A Goodyear, which to me are so diverse in his just ability to capture people.
I think it's fair to say this, that Bruckheimer's operating at an 8th grade level and Ridley Scott's operating at a master's level, like a doctoral level, and they're making the same movies, but one of them's like a fucking PhD and the other one's like a fingerprint.
I like that.
Probably always try to get Ridley Scott, but they're like, all right, we'll just, I guess, focus with Tony Scott, his brother.
Michael Bay.
Oh, Tony Scott, rest in peace.
Don't get me wrong, I love Michael Bay.
No. I'm talking about Tony Scott, his brother, who passed away. And he would do other movies, yeah.
I remember it was a big deal with Ridley Scott doing the whole Colosseum. Like, I remember that was a big thing. Like,
I remember they did like a 60 minutes TV special on it, just like on the CGI.
And even the whole, like, looking at Rome, because everyone always wondered how did Rome look like back in the day. And this is what people always, thought Rome would look like and thought the Colosseum, how big this thing is. People said, this is, how could man build this? Like, it was beautiful to see the Colosseum in like that movie. I don't think it'll ever be done like that again.
Yeah.
So I've been to the Colosseum, and when you walk and you look at the Colosseum, like pictures do not do it justice. It is the most majestic, like, building. It's ruined, right? So it's like destroyed. And the thing is that it had a lot of stuff in it, and they broke down the Colosseum to build other things to take power away from Caesar. It was like it was symbolic. So to see it in its full glory and watching what the gladiators were doing, you're right, Ed. No movie's going to do it like this. And there's been other sword and sandal movies like Troy, and there's some other movies that have tried to do this era. Nothing has been like this. This is gritty, realistic. It's almost like I think it's in those caliber of movies like Braveheart or like Patriot, which I think the Patriot's on the bubble. Yeah. I love Patriot, but I think it's on the bubble. Lost of the Mohicans, like really good, gritty.
But
movies.
I think you're right. I think you're right, Sean, because like this movie did pave the way for this whole next decade of like epic films. If this movie wasn't successful, because before Gladiator, there wasn't that many Roman gladiator movies and things like that,
So that's not necessarily true. You had the whole 1950s, 60s.
Sean, when I know that the 50s and 60s. I'm talking about 30 years from that absence after Spartacus and Big Hur and everything like that.
That's what I'm saying. Is you had a foundation before that people, Ten Commandments. You had a bunch of really good older movies.
You had but then they died away. What I think is interesting.
Braveheart was 95. Saving Private Ryan was 98. So these movies are far and few in between, but it's something that you knew when it came across the table. You're like, okay, this movie is going to be with those top movies.
And I feel like they come in waves. Like I think that's what Jeremiah was saying. You kind of have all of a sudden you have this birth of superhero movies. Well, in the 1990s, you had this birth of kind of these big epic movies because technology caught up. You could do a little CGI, you could do a little practical, and make a $100 million movie without breaking a sweat.
But here's what I think is so good about this film is that it has the crazy good CGI, but it's used to just tell part of the story, right? It's not focused. I mean, we did made a couple episodes ago. And as much as I do love that story and I love that movie,
what was it again?
Itself, The Matrix.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, as much as I love the story, the movie's made.
No,
I
you
I was going to say, did I take the red pill or did I take the blue pill?
It literally, some reason there was like a glitch in the Matrix, and when you said the Matrix, it didn't happen. I'm like, wait, did this happen? Can you say that one more time? You'll hear it on the episode. You'll literally hear it.
I can't wait.
I thought you were being fucking clever.
No.
I heard Brian say Matrix.
No. You'll listen. You guys will listen to the episode and you'll be like, oh, fuck, I see what he was talking about.
Oh, man. But what I'm saying is that movie was carried by the CGI and carried by the computer effects. And the story was secondhand to it. The characters were secondhand to it. Where this one, it's like, here's the movie. Here's the story. Here's these characters. And, just going along with it is the CGI. That is probably something that could have stood on its own. And it kind of reminds me the Matrix effect and the Independence Day, where you have these big spectacle movies, the Michael Bays, right? And it says, we're gonna let the story and the characters take a backseat to what we can do. And Ridley Scott did more than I think a lot of other directors would have done at the time, but he doesn't put that in our face. He says, let's look at these characters.
It was done tastefully. I mean, when you think about it.
Yeah.
And when you
I also think.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Jared, go ahead.
No, when you watch it and when you see that bird view of the Colosseum, I mean, the visuals still hold up. I mean, you're just like, okay, I know this movie is 21 years old, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, but it's like, it still looks good as it was made today, except for the wigs.
And I will say that I think the reason that the CGI blends in is because you're anchored with literally phenomenal performances, and it's not just one phenomenal performance. I think Russell Crowe, I'm going to say something controversial. I think that Russell Crowe, I don't know who he was going up against, but in this movie his performance wasn't the best. I thought the best in the movie. It was great, but I thought Joaquin Phoenix was fucking phenomenal. I thought Richard Harris was absolutely hit it out of the park. I think the other guy,
Oliver
Reed, he made me want to go watch other movies that he's been in, and I did, and they're terrible.
Oh, yeah,
this was his moment.
Dude, that guy lived and died.
Jaimin Hansu.
He is so good. I love him.
What were you gonna say though, Jared? What were
That
you
guy,
gonna say?
Oliver Reed, I mean, he lived a hardcore life, man. Like, he did over 100 films. He was a drinker. I mean, he died during the movie. If you guys didn't know that, he died during the movie.
Didn't know that.
Like, seriously, he died in a pub in a drinking contest. He was drinking he was doing like this crazy drinking contest, bunch
how
of
Sean
pints
wants
and
to
whatnot.
go.
And seriously, after like 6 or 7 rounds, allegedly, he just fell down to his face and died of a heart attack. This guy got stabbed in the throat doing Three Musketeers and almost died in a movie like that. This guy supposedly had a tattoo on his dick. This guy was a hardcore fucking guy, dude.
Good Lord, it's the Oliver Reed fan club over there.
What's really funny is he was brought in to read for Proxima or Proximo. Proximo. And he was like, I'm a movie star. I'm not reading for a role. And one of his friends like, fuck you, bro. You're not a movie star. Go read. And if he asks you to read again, you read again. That's what you do.
He was the first choice to play
Ridley
in
fucking
Jaws.
Scott.
He was the first choice to play in Jaws, actually. Robert Shaw's character.
Schneider's,
Yeah, he goes, fuck
Yeah.
that. I'm not going to go to LA. And he fucking said, fuck that.
Yeah.
All right, so I need to have just a quick moment to talk about Oliver Reed in this film. So I love movies. We all love movies, and I think that maybe if we really kind of sit down and I ask you guys, hey, what is your favorite scene in any movie? Think about that, and you can share it in just a second. But for me, my favorite scene in any movie that's ever been made is the scene where Proximo is telling Maximus about going to Rome and the beauty of Rome and the way that he presents it. And I look at it from a writing level. I look at it from a directing level. I look at it from an acting level. And the music, to me, that's the best moment of music, is the way that builds and swells at the end of that scene. And then he stretches his arms out. And it's this beautiful release of just excitement that I don't think I've ever seen and I've never experienced in another movie ever. And that, to me, is hands down my favorite film scene ever made.
There's a lot of good scenes in this film that makes me,
That's dope.
I still think about, that's a great scene, by the way, Brandon. But there's just so many scenes that it just stays with you for a long time. Like the second time he faces in the gladiating battle, and he's facing he finally meets Joaquin Phoenix's character, and he could have done all these crazy shits and everything like that, But you know what he said? He just did it in such a gentleman way that he walks away after you try to dig about his wife and his kid and whatnot.
Yeah.
Dude, that scene's so fucking hardcore, man.
It is. Yeah. And
So
I was gonna say he has so much confidence in the fact that he's gonna have another chance to face him down that when he turns away, I don't know, for some reason I didn't get upset for him, being the good guy in that moment, for not killing, Commodus in front of his nephew. Where I think if dealt and handled differently in other movies, I think you would get the sense of just upset of why are you doing that, But for whatever reason, the way that they pace the film, the way that it's just written and put together, I believe that that's the response he would have given.
I'm talking about favorite scenes, and I'm just going to say mine. It was pretty much the first time that the Commodores finds out that Russell Crowe is still alive, Maximus. So he's trying to congratulate him, and then the music though, it holds everything, because you as soon as he takes off that helmet, you have the I'm a general to the Roman army and blah blah blah, and just keeps going husband to a murdered wife.
Oh god, yeah.
It's just oh my god, that gave me chills. That. And you just all of a sudden you saw the panic and fear in Joaquin Phoenix's eyes, and it was a room full of a colosseum of people, but you can instantly they all went away. It was just two people talking, and you saw Commodus feel oh shit, I'm fucked.
What? That line I heard was actually written on that day for that particular scene, because most of this movie was written in production. It was really fucking a mess of just all different writers and whatnot. And just somehow everything just lined up, and it doesn't work out like that way with movies like that, And that scene, I believe, I just believe that Crowe, and I think Crowe said it these words are shit. I'll make it fucking great. I'll fucking do it, and he did it.
Well, Richard Harris. So they kept rewriting Richard Harris's lines, and he would go, "Oh, thank you," and he'd take the lines, and he would say the original lines because he didn't want to relearn the lines. He was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna."
He's like, I've done 200 films. I don't need to fucking do this, dude.
So,
But you're talking about you're talking about moments, and so there are very few moments in cinematic history where you can look and see a certain scene that like you can say a whole movie is wrapped up in one scene. And what I think is really funny is the scene that you picked, which is a great scene, one of my favorites. I would argue that's probably one of the, like, if you were to list the top great scenes in movie history, it's on the top. But he puts his arms out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing that Russell Crowe does. Are you not entertained? Like when he puts his arms out, it's the same kind of posture. And you can see that these two characters are so connected.
Ooh, good
but
catch.
I will say, and another great scene that I think this was built off of, and I will say I think they stole it slightly, is from Lawrence of Arabia. And there's a scene from Lawrence of Arabia when Peter O'Toole, another classically great actor, he gets a costume in the movie, and it's all white, and it's this beautiful white robe in the middle of the desert, and it's got a headpiece and all this. And then later in the movie, and he's looking at himself in this knife, this flashy knife, and he puts his arms out and he spreads his arms, and he's pretending to be this great sheik. And later in the movie, he's covered in blood. He's covered in fight and been fighting for these people. And he sees himself again in the same knife with the same arms spread out. And you're like, it's people realizing who they are, and that people are finally seeing who they see themselves inside. And I think that's such a beautiful scene. And you got to watch that movie. You've never seen it. Lawrence of Arabia, one of the greatest movies ever made.
Definitely.
Would you say that Joaquin Phoenix is probably hands down the most underrated, in this movie? Because when you think about Russell Crowe, you think about Russell Crowe, right? Yeah. And you think about Richard Harris, but you think that this was before he became one of the best actors of our generation.
I was going to say, I don't think Joaquin had really done anything as an adult, right? He'd done a couple things as kids, and I think this was one of his breakout role. And the fact that he was able to take a breakout role and call it Gladiator, I think is just amazing.
I read something like he was really nervous during the scene, with Russell Crowe. And he kept asking him, like, hey, man, can you just rough me up before we actually do the scene? And, like, Russell's like, I guess he went up to, like, Richard Harris, and he was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? This guy's asking me to beat the shit out of him. And then Richard's like, why don't we just get him pissed and get him fucked up? Get him some drinks. And I guess, like, the rest of the movie and the production, he was good after that.
Well, Richard Harris was a huge alky, huge drinker. They had that whole group of people that were just like you were saying. Oliver Reed was a hard liver, so was fucking Richard Harris. Richard Harris, fucking. There were three of them that were just. They were Peter O'Toole. There was one more, and they were huge drinking buddies, and they would just go out and just get hammered drunk. Anyway.
Oh man! So I know we're jumping around, but Eddie, you mentioned Djimon Hounsou, and I think that Djimon Hounsou is a great actor. I mean, he's not the most diversified actor in the sense that
this is the first time this might have been the first time.
I remember him in what's that movie? Amistad.
He was no, that's right. He was in Amistad, and he was that was his first one, and then he came in this one. But the ending, right? The ending, I've always loved the ending, and I read that actually it was supposed to be Oliver Reed who was supposed to bury the little figurines, and then Oliver Reed decided he was going to just die in the middle of production. So they were like, "Oh shit!" So they had to rewrite this friendship between Djimon Hounsou's character and Maximus, and create this, which is weird because when I'm watching it without knowing that, and because I read it afterwards, that's one of my favorite parts about the movie is this friendship that develops between these two guys, and really, they only developed this friendship because they were yoked together at the first battle together. They realized they had to lean on each other,
and it helps Maximus too. Probably was it like his family died, and he had to like almost somebody to talk to about it, and this guy kind of helped him through the difficult time. And it was cool to see a good friendship built there.
That ending, right when he says, "I'll see you again, but not yet." Oh man!
One of the things that this movie did, I think, brilliantly that other movies don't do, is it took a political coup that a big story. So I always look at like Star Wars, a perfect example. When they do a small story in Star Wars, it's so much better than when they try to do a big story in Star Wars. Same concept here. they took this big story, the fall of Caesar. That's what this movie's about. It's about Caesar giving up power to the Senate. That's it, at the end of the day, that's what this movie's about.
Yep.
But they took that grand, huge idea, and then they shrunk it down and said, no, this is a story about Russell Crowe getting retribution against Commodus for killing his family. That's literally
and then in the background, the political is happening, right? And what
so
it does, it doesn't sensationalize it, which I think is a really important thing, you know?
And no, you see great characters like Derek Jacobi, where he's one of my favorite actors ever. But he brings in this like stability, and there's a couple of scenes that he comes in and they're like, oh, I didn't know you were for the gladiator, you know, the blood and the guts. He's no, I'm just a guy for the people. And you have this grounded Senate, like this politics behind it. And I love that aspect of it. My favorite comment from Brandon was, I said, oh, I'm at the part where they're fighting the tigers. And he goes, oh, the politics is coming up next. You're really going to like this. Go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry to
No. What I was talking about, or what I was going to refer to, is that I like the fact that they bring this guy, they make this character Maximus up, because he's not really, there's no such thing as Maximus in Roman history or whatnot. But it doesn't matter, because they're using all these types of elements about this story to enhance the story. I mean, it's not the most fictional account of like ancient Rome history and everything like that. I mean, Marcus didn't die from his son. He died of a plague. But that doesn't fucking matter, because they decided to use parts of the history to make this big fucking epic and make it work. They didn't go and lose itself like, oh, this happened at this time, or this happened at this time, and whatnot. And I really love that. And normally I usually get on a little like, you know, ship in on it, like, what the fuck? What's going on? Why are you not like actually on sync? But in this movie, in this part, in most of these scenes, it doesn't fucking matter. And I love that.
I like that.
I'm gonna say some negative things.
Okay, I got one negative too, so I'll throw that in after.
Russell Crowe is not Spanish. And they kept
Spaniard.
No. I kept asking Hannah that. Like,
off,
what's
right?
going on with
Spaniard.
Spaniard? Like, wait, what's going on here?
Because he has dark hair.
Trying that English accent in Prince of Thieves. It didn't work.
It gets even worse though.
I don't think he is Spanish at all in the movie.
No, his kids were like all like.
That's the thing that's so frustrating. Okay, so he's supposed to be in Spain, yet his son, when he's talking, is talking Italian. And he doesn't look Spanish at all. He looks, I don't know, Australian. It doesn't. So I'm going to go ahead and jump on. I'm going to piggyback off of that, Sean, because something that really bothered me is literally he rides from Germania, which I think we can go ahead and say is Germany or somewhere around.
It is Germany.
Okay, yeah, but I'm trying to say Germania was kind of a bigger spot. I know. I'm sorry. Wait, I remember that you're the Roman scholar. So sorry, but anyway. He rides a fucking horse. I'm sorry, 2 horses from Germany or Germania, wherever the fuck that is, all the way to Spain. That's a long ass drive.
Dude, did you not see his hair? Like he had a mullet at one time, and I'm like, wait, what happened to his hair?
I mean, it's far.
I want to know how far it was, and yet he makes it.
So don't get me wrong. It's far, but I think Jeremiah has a point. It's time lapse. Like time has passed. I think it's weeks.
I hope so.
I hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Then let me see him sleep.
But like you can get from, I mean, you've been to England, you've been to Scotland. Spain is not that far away.
I guess there's truth to that.
I mean, from Spain you can get to Africa. It's all right there. It's not like the United States.
It's just true. I see what you guys are saying, because like in 10 minutes of the film, like he was a general, but now he's a slave. I mean, it went that pretty quick.
And that, I'm sorry, that bothered me. Like, did they just pick up people off the side of the road and be like, oh, you're a slave now.
And then give them maggots to their arm. Yes.
Well, how would we know that? I mean, that's how a lot of stuff happened back in the day.
No, I'm not.
It's like Taken.
He was dead.
No, don't get me wrong. Like I'm not trying to pinpoint like little
Maximus
things here.
was dead.
It's just like there's gonna be stuff in this movie where there's just like, let's get to the point, to this area, to this scene, to this scene, to this scene.
It's like the writers of Star Wars. I don't know. Palpatine's back. I don't. He just came back.
He had a granddaughter this whole time.
There was one scene that it kind of bugged me, and I looked at it, and the Senate was it was about with the Senate, and they were in Rome, right? And they were at a cafe or something, and I was just like, is there, are there just
Are we in
chairs?
Caesars in Las Vegas?
Yeah, they had. Is that a glass a cup? They had he was drinking this green juice, and I was looking at it, I was like, that's a glass cup he's drinking out of. Cups.
They had glass blowing.
Yeah, I was like, this thing looked like it was like. You buy this
From
at
IKEA?
IKEA? Yeah, I was like, you buy this thing at IKEA, and
Yo.
that furniture looks really modern right now. You look like you're in Italy.
Let's get back to the film here, because you guys are talking about favorite scenes, and I have to say, now I'm like thinking about it, the chariot first battle in the Colosseum was fucking dope. You gotta be, come on, how cool was that?
Intense,
it was like seriously
because
a pain respect to Ben-Hur right there. That's what I thought when I was watching it.
It is, but also it shows how good of a general he is, because he's the one that organized them. If he didn't get them together, they would have all died, right? But yeah, I mean, and what I like about the battle scenes, because we really haven't talked about the battle scenes and the gore, and yeah, there is some gore, but actually it wasn't as much as I remember it being when I watched it. Okay,
I feel the same way.
The intensity of the battles escalates, right? And I think there's 4, right? There's 4 battles that they show, and in each one something crazier happens, and finally by the end he's got tigers attacking him.
Those are real tigers, dude.
I know.
Those are real fucking tigers. But it wasn't like Braveheart. Braveheart is just like blood. The blood is going into the camera, you know. You know, this was kind of done tastefully. I know there was like a lot of beheadings and people getting saw in half and shit in this movie, but we've seen worse things than Game of Thrones. This was kind of like a PG-13 to other things that have gone further, I guess.
I like it's kind of like the arena football gladiator league. I like that. It was kind of cool to see this is like the minor leagues before you can go to the Colosseum.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to see like that first fight. There was a guy that was spiky hair that I thought was kind of funny. It was
I was like, what? Did you play? Like, were you a guitar player from like Stain? I mean, what the fuck, dude?
No, I was just like, is this guy from Sum 41? This guy looks like he's from Sum 41.
I was thinking the same thing, and then I asked Hannah, like, do they have tribal tattoos back in the day? Because that was tripping me out, dude.
And he goes right out and he gets smacked in the face. I was like, God, that's horrible. And then the guy's pissing himself too. It was just, but I was just like, this guy has some spiky hair.
I would have pissed myself too, actually.
So one of the things that I thought this movie did well, and it kind of goes with the battles, is that I hate when a movie pits like a seasoned general that has literally cut down thousands of people, or like in this movie, Russell Crowe fucking made his way through a lot of people to get to, the Caesar, or to get to Joaquin Phoenix. And then now they're going to do battle. And it's like, okay, well, Joaquin Phoenix is going to fight him. It's like, no, he would kick his ass in 3.5 seconds. But by wounding him, wounding Russell Crowe, you have this like evenly matched battle, which I thought was really it was like really grassroots and graphic. Go ahead, Jeremy.
So talk about fictional accounts of like what happened back in the day. Commodus actually was a gladiator emperor, and he would actually fight in the Colosseum and everything like that. And he would do that where his soldiers would go to the other opponent as they were getting ready to get battle and actually stick him in the back or something like that and actually wound them. But he was also a piece of shit too, because he would get people and like dress them up and they'd kill him in front of people and whatnot, dude.
So he would fight unfair. See, what he messed up though with this, and if he would have been smart, he stabbed him on the left side. He's a righty bro. Stab him on the right side,
dude.
I know.
Like, why
would you?
Russell manhandled Joaquin in this movie,
arm.
Dude.
He doesn't need his left arm. Stab him on the right
You're
side.
right. He could have stabbed him both sides, and Russell Crowe, Maximus would have headbutted the shit out of him. That's what would have happened.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, honestly, and that it was such a visceral fight. That aspect of this movie is that, but they were grungy, dirty battles it seemed realistic. And I think that if you look at a movie like Troy, which is probably 10 years later, maybe more, it was so stylized. Everything was so like fancy and
you could tell it was fake.
Right.
I thought how Joaquin Phoenix died in the movie was pretty hardcore, because there's nothing harder, there's nothing like crazier, or nothing just is more brutal than getting stabbed in the throat by the person just looking at you, by millions of people, or like hundreds of thousands of people watching you die. Like the embarrassment fucking happening that he died in the arena, which he didn't die in the arena.
Bad move by the emperor there. Never should have done that.
one of my favorite parts of that last battle is when, Commodus loses his sword and he's yelling for a sword, and some of the soldiers are going to give him the sword, and the commander, the general, the other guy, he's like,
dude, that guy should have got fucking.
no.
That guy should have died. That guy was like,
He should have died.
he was like,
He was a horrible
fucking
shit.
like
But
against him the whole time.
He came back at the end and he told them to sheathe their swords. So that
And
counts.
I'm going to tell you, I'm gonna be on Quintus's side. Quintus was loyal to
He was allegiant to
Rome,
Yeah.
not to Maximus, but to Rome.
Just like
And-
how Maximus was too. Maximus was allegiance to Rome. He said, "I'm always for Rome."
For Marcus.
And Quintus protected Maximus in that circle before Rome, like because the Commodus had said this is a fight between us two, not the rest of the people. So he was doing that for Rome. So I'm gonna say, of all the people in the movie, he was the one who was like straight.
There's
straight
Sean's
edge.
hero right there.
Yeah, I know, right?
I think
Quintus
Quintus
deserves
had,
a movie.
No, I think Quintus had. I think he was going through his own emotions. Like, I mean, you can see, like, fuck, bro, like, what did I do here? And then, like, it finally came out, like, hey, the Emperor's like, hey, bro, you're in there now yourself. Like, it's fair fight, fair game. Like, you already stabbed him already like a dick behind closed doors. Like, you don't need another sword.
I also love that he stabbed him.
Yeah,
and
he had one in his little thing. So, like, why did he need another sword?
That was an envelope cutter. That wasn't even a knife. That was
Dude,
like a little-
you know what's so funny? That was the same knife that actually cut him. So basically, that knife killed both
Oh,
Joaquin
damn,
Phoenix
look at that.
and killed Russell Crowe.
And that knife was given
And-
by Maximus Aurelius.
You could argue that
Good point, bro.
knife saved Rome.
Allegedly
Sean.
saved Rome. You know how Commodus died actually in real life?
Well, yeah, they
I
all
hope he
died.
died from some like home humiliation.
No,
like
no,
some-
no. He actually got strangled in his bathtub by his spotter fighter or some shit like that.
His spot away.
Because he was a megalomaniac. He was crazy.
He was crazy, man. Hey, what do you think about Connie Nelson? Because I thought she was really good in this movie.
She was great.
No
No?
complaints.
No?
Like, she's not a. But here's my thing: is her character wasn't a flashy character, so she doesn't necessarily stand out as much as like Commodus does and Joaquin Phoenix. But she was so grounded in reality, and I think that when one of the best scenes in the whole movie is when she's just sitting at the table, and she's just crying her eyes out because she traded on Maximus and basically everybody, and got everything just fucked up.
To save
And-
her, to save her.
To save her son. And he comes up and he says, if she so much as looks at me the wrong way, everybody's dead. And then, Joaquin goes into the whole incest thing, which, by the way, back in 100 AD time, incest within emperor circles, not that weird.
Mhm.
Which is why they were all in fucking insane.
That's what, yeah, they were. Yeah, but when she plays that role of just having lost everything so well, but it's so understated. So I think that if anything, I would say that maybe her role here, she was the most underrated role in this movie.
I thought
because
she was really good in this movie, man.
She was great.
I really enjoyed her roles and everything like that. I mean, she had like this relationship between Russell Crowe's character and Connie Nelson's character. Because to me that would have just
liked her. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was obviously something there, and I would have loved to have had them explain that just a little bit more. Was it just an infatuation? Or was it an actual love? I mean,
no, because it would have actually like brought him down regarding to his morals about him being a husband and a father and everything like that. And I'm glad they actually go to that part.
It looked like they dated because they did hint like back in the day before. Like how long has he known the king, right, or emperor? So I think that one time because he knew Commodus as a boy. He knew. So it's like he knew these people when they were way younger. But I do agree with you, Brandon. I wish they would have taught a little bit more about that.
yeah.
And
I mean,
kind of
normally-
left a little open area. But I do like how they kept it like pure as he was a husband and he was not cheating on his wife.
Yeah. And normally I would say that a love relationship between the two of them is unneeded, but I feel like it kind of works here because it's not exploited,
Well, maybe we might know a little bit more about it in Gladiator 2.
It's that same relationship
22 years later.
with Mel Gibson had with his wife, but then like the wife died, and then he still had this other relationship with the queen or the princess. I don't know what it was.
No, that's Braveheart you're thinking of.
Yeah, that's
Come
what I'm
on
saying.
now.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's like that same type of like this other romance that hey, I'm
You're
gonna
trying to ruin
die.
this movie for me.
I'm gonna die, but hey, like I do find you fancy.
Let's put it this way, yo. Question: who would be the best gladiator role in Russell Crowe's character if you made this movie today, who would it be? If you actually do this movie
what
again,
actor?
yeah, what actor would
Sean
actually?
would say Dylan O'Brien.
No, they're all bitches. All the male actors coming up are all little skinny bitches.
If anybody says any of the Marvel actors, I'm gonna be pissed.
Chris Hemsworth.
I knew you'd say that shit.
No.
No.
You have The Rock.
Dude, he would be all Scorpion and Keen out and shit, dude. Come on, dude.
He'd
Hey,
be all
you
CGI.
asked, bro. I mean, like, what,
I think.
do you want like some
what's his
random
name?
dude?
Yeah, Jason.
Wolverine,
Jason.
the guy who plays. No, Jason Momoa is a terrible actor.
No,
Okay,
these
the
they're
Hawkeye.
too old. You need to have somebody who's.
Do you
what was
see
he, like,
Hawkeye?
late
Jeremy
30s.
Reiner or Reiner.
No, I hate Jeremy Renner.
Oh,
I don't hate Jeremy Renner, but he's good. He just bothers me.
I can honestly say that there's not very many.
No.
I'm not passing judgment. I'm just saying that Russell Crowe is a masculine man.
Mhm.
There are very few of those left in Hollywood. Like, what's his name from Batman? Christian Bale.
Tom Hardy.
Edward.
Tom Hardy.
Edward
Tom
Cullen.
Hardy would actually
Edward
be
Tom
good.
Hardy could do it.
Edward
Huh?
Cullen. I mean, Robert Patterson.
Tom Farrell. Robert
no.
Pattinson. You know,
I would say Marky
you're-
Mark. I would say Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah,
He's
my-
50.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he was in the perfect storm. He would have been awesome.
Bro, Mark Wahlberg is ripped. Don't
Yeah,
talk
he
about
is.
him like
He is
that.
a-
If he's listening to this,
Sorry.
I-
I totally forgot you're a Marky Mark fan. I get it, dude.
bro, if he's listening, I'm sorry, Marky Mark. Go ahead and whoop their ass.
It's just that good vibration, bro. What do you want me to do?
Oh, you went there.
Do you guys like the way the sister ends with that quote, like bring Rome back to? Even though that was like the fall of Rome.
Yeah, it kind of just went in and out because I just knew that didn't happen.
Are we ending this because Sean has to leave, or what's going on?
No. I just
Okay, so in
we're
that
at the
case,
time.
I was gonna save my criticism for my score, but I'm just gonna tell you the one thing that pisses me off, and it bothers me so much, and yes, it did
wigs.
affect my score, is the very end. Not the very end, because Juba burying the little figurines is beautiful, and I cried. But right before that, when everybody is surrounding Maximus's fallen body, and freaking Gaius says, "Oh God, where is it? Hold on. Who will help me carry him?" That was such a fucking
love
Hollywood
that.
moment. Oh, it was such a Hollywood moment. It was the
Oh, I
same.
fucking
It was
love
equivalent to the
that.
slow clap at the end of Rudy, and it ruins it.
I've
and
never
it
seen
pissed me
Rudy,
off.
bro. Stop it.
He slow clap. He gets a sack. Just saying. There it is. Win.
Well, that was not a slow clap with Rudy. They just said Rudy. There was no slow clap. Rudy.
you're right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of
Rudy.
Cool Runnings. Cool Runnings is a slow clap. Rudy is Rudy.
Don't you
and-
say anything about Cool Runnings.
Oh, well,
motherfucker.
Cool
Don't
Runnings
you
is
say
literally-
one word.
Hey, Jamaica's back in.
It is. I know, right? They're in the
You
bobsled.
know what?
It's not
Olympics
such a-
is happening, buddy.
I know, right?
And that brings us to the end of review. Finally, now it's time on the podcast where each of the hosts provides his score on the following scale. Eddie, can you provide the scale, please?
Yes, I can. 0, the perfect movie. You don't need shit to enjoy it. 1, a feel-good first cocktail. 2, a happy buzz. 3, you're gonna Uber or lifting home. 4, rough morning walk of shame. 5, blackout, shit-faced, spring break drunk. Gentlemen, let's start with Sean.
I'm actually surprised, though, real quick, that Eddie, you even include 0 in the rundown of scores.
It's in my strip. I have to say
He's
it.
given a movie a 0, Brandon. We've already
Which one?
established
Which
he
one
gave
did he
a movie-
do?
I think it was.
You weren't
Perks of Being
there.
a
Oh,
Goddamn
perks
Wallflower.
of being a
You guys-
wallflower.
You
That
guys
is-
have to listen to it. I don't
That
think
is
I
a
did.
freaking.
You guys have to listen
That
to
is
it.
a 0.
Somebody has to listen to it.
That's a 0 movie.
Yeah, I never did it.
Okay,
Sorry, guys.
so yeah, you did. So, all right, so
You
I
were
went
drunk.
into
You
this
weren't even
movie
there.
Kind of, I'm always drunk. I went into this movie very apprehensive because I don't like gore. I don't like, generally speaking, big violent movies. What I got from this movie was a very well-paced. We didn't even talk about that. Incredibly well-paced story, character-driven with outstanding performances. Russell Crowe was fabulous. Richard Harris, always great. I thought Joaquin Phoenix hit it out the park. I thought he was. There's only 3 performances that I think Joaquin Phoenix really has come out of his skin in, and this was one of them. Joker was one of them, and then there's one other one that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. Yes, that was a
Swing,
great
Meryl,
great
swing.
performance.
Walk the
Swing
line,
away.
yo.
Walk the line. That's right. He was Johnny Cash. He's
Yeah.
fantastic. Anyway,
Still think signs.
I thought the movie did not bore me. It did not with having so much time in between the action sequences. I was worried that it was going to fall apart, but it was supported beautifully by a little politics, a little intrigue, this movie, it was the complete package if you're looking for an epic. And I love an epic. I love the concept of an epic. And I don't think it's a perfect movie. I think that it didn't hit all the notes with the script. I thought some of the lines were forced. I don't agree that particular line that you identified, Brandon, was the worst one. But there was a couple of them that just didn't feel like they knew what the story was when they were filming. And part of that, I think, is my bias, because I did read about the movie slightly afterwards, and I can kind of see where the storyline changed with the death of Oliver Reed. It changed slightly throughout the course of the movie. So I'm going to give this movie a 1. I think that this is a really, really, really good movie. But I don't think that, if I look at like Lawrence of Arabia, which I think is not Chariots of Fire, Ben-Hur, and those big sword and sandal movies, I think this is great, but it doesn't quite get there for me. So I give it a 1. Eddie.
1's a pretty good fucking score. So
it's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Okay, I'll go now. So one of the almost perfect movies ever made. Almost perfect. But I agree with Sean. The pacing, the characterization, the development with everyone of the characters, Hans Zimmer's score. It was just like there's so much in this movie that makes it breathtaking. I mean, just the scenes of Rome itself with the Colosseum. Talking about arguably, I think it could be one of Russell Crowe's. It could be his best movie. I don't think he did better than this. I personally think it's arguably one of his better movies. Same with Joaquin Phoenix, arguably. He could have matched that with this movie. He went on a little run in his 2000s. He came back with Joker, but this is one of his better movies. This is one in his holy trinity. Same with Ridley Scott. Arguably, this could be one of Ridley Scott's better movies. This is between Alien and this one. Really, honestly, there's a fight. I don't know about Blade Runner, Jeremy. I'm just letting you know that's not up there for me.
I'll talk about it later.
Yeah. But something about this movie has this level of ancient Rome, Greece, and also at the same time there's this weird level of Shakespeare. And I just feel like it's a movie that can hold its own in its own category, and no one could ever fight that. This movie is a solid movie, and you can easily have a half a shot with this, like I'm giving it.
So what's that? It's 5?
A half.
What is it? 0.5?
A half. Yeah, 0.5.
Half a shot.
Well, no, half a shot is a 0.25.
Oh, okay. Well,
you have a shot?
I meant a shot, a half a drink. Sorry.
Okay. So 0.5.
We do all these points now, and it gets me really confused. It's a half a drink. Sorry.
I'll take it now, then, Jerry.
Brandon, I'll take it. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't want to close this one out.
No, that's fine.
I think hands down, Gladiator, it feels one of the most important blockbusters of the early 21st century. And when I say that, is that I feel like it's a classic in its own genre at that time. I mean, I think it paved the way for a lot of films that came out around the 2000s, like Kingdom of Heaven, 300, even Attack of the Clones. That scene when the Jedis are facing in the Colosseum, that was inspired from Gladiator, from what I read, which it makes perfectly sense to me. I think the cast was on another level in this movie. I think Russell Crowe is a badass.
The Clones, really?
Do you remember?
No, he's right. He's absolutely right.
Thank you.
You're absolutely right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But Gladiator is so much better.
Don't get me wrong. Don't wrong. It was
George Lucas didn't direct it.
George Lucas directed it. This is what I'm saying. It was inspired, that Colosseum, because of Gladiator.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
I would have loved to see a chariot. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jeremiah, but I would have loved to see a chariot with a little lightsaber.
Badass.
And the Gungans just like,
I'm just saying, if it was in the different hands of Ridley Scott, it would have been totally different. I'm just saying.
Okay. I agree.
So what I was trying to say is the cast is on another level, right? Russell Crowe is hands down badass in this movie. He is fucking the guy that you want to be, man. I mean, he is the leading actor, and I wish there were some more movies of him that gets that chance for him to actually shine once more. I'm just saying, yo, the visuals from Ridley Scott is just shows why he's probably one of the most underrated directors of our time. Eddie says, he's all about Alien, which I agree with him. But Blade Runner, I think this movie is with Blade Runner, and that speaks a lot of volume for me.
This movie is above Blade Runner, bro.
Easy there, buddy. The only problem I have is I agree with Sean. The script, it just felt a little thin at certain times, especially at the first part of the film. But once it got to the second part of the film, it was just epic. It's everything that you want in an epic film. And I recommend you guys to see it when you get a chance. And now I'm on the hunt to go find this Hans Zimmer Gladiator on vinyl because it's probably one of the best scores I just want to have in my collection. So it's a real good treat. It's not a perfect movie, but you know what? Shit, man. It's a feel-good first cocktail with a little chaser. So this is a 1.35 for me, guys.
A 1.35? See, this is why I get confused with my own score now.
I'm going to fuck you guys up.
1.35?
Wait. You guys are getting mad at me? I mean, pretty sure the other episode...
It's a great score.
I'm going off of the...
Yeah, this is 0.12.
I mean...
I didn't go there.
Is that what I gave for Spider-Man? I was trying to remember what I did.
We did a 0.95. Somebody did a 0.95 last.
Brandon always pulls out of his ass some weird
Jeremy, you did a 0.95 last time.
Don't get me... Dude, I never did a 0.12.
I've got exactly what it is.
0.15. Go, Brandon.
In case I haven't mentioned it on the podcast before, I'm not 100% sure if I did. My goal, since basically when I was about a senior in high school, was that I wanted to make movies, right? I wanted to be a filmmaker. I didn't want to be an actor. I wanted to be a filmmaker. And it's not until recently that I kind of started looking back at what was going on at that time in my life. What was I seeing? What was inspiring me to want to be a filmmaker? And there's a list of different movies that happened, and none of them are Star Wars episodes 1, 2, or 3. But Gladiator is one of those movies. Gladiator, Braveheart. I went through a major, if it had a sword in it, I was in love with it. And I mean, I still
First
enjoy,
Night.
Oh God, First Night's such a great movie. You got pirate. Oh yes, it is. Yes, it is. Anyway, this movie, it made me want to be a film writer because it had that one scene, and I will stand by that unless I see something better, which I don't think I will. I'll stand by that as my favorite scene in film history. Just the way it was written, the way it was presented, and not only that, but the movie, it takes a normal story of revenge, right? And who cares when it's set? But what it does is it humanizes these characters so that you don't just root for them, but you relate to them. And I think that's something that is missing in so much of storytelling, whether it be novel writing or filmmaking or even songwriting, that we have these characters that are they're fallible, they're problematic, but at the same time they're also so good. And I think that we see that with that relationship between Juba and Maximus, that you can find goodness in even the most horrible of situations. And I think that that's a breath of fresh air, even though this is a really violent movie, even though this is a really kind of political movie in a lot of ways, because it's looking at the Senate versus the emperor, and it's got so many different levels. But what it does is, you're right, it is clunky at times. They didn't have an idea at times. You can tell where they were going with it. They had a general direction. But what this movie shows is that, maybe it works out for the best, because maybe that's kind of more mimicking of what real life is. We don't really know where it's going until we get there. And the finished product, when he buries those figurines, and then it has that pullback shot of over the Colosseum towards the new day. I mean, that's just a movie. That's a scene where you finish the movie and you just literally sit there and watch the credits. You just go, fuck, what? I just experienced something. Yeah. And that's why, I think it is near perfect movie. There are a couple things that frustrate me. That one line does frustrate me. The 4-second ride to Spain frustrates me. So here's what I'm going to give. I'm going to give a half a shot that I got gypped on. So I'm not going to complain to the bartender. I'm just going to enjoy my 0.2, and I'm just going to just down it. And
0.25?
No, 0.2. It's 0.2.
No, that's not a half a shot.
No. I said I got a half a shot that I got gypped on.
So it's a 0.2. Oh, half a shot.
It's a 0.2. It's a 0.2. It's a half a shot that I got gypped on.
It's a 0.2.
0.2.
So you guys get mad at me when I say something like that, and it's funny. He goes 0.2, and you're like, okay, whatever.
No, I think he was in shock.
0.2, baby.
Yes.
Okay, so Eddie, when we add up all four scores and divide by 4, what does Gladiator give us a rating?
My math and Brandon's math is correct with all these decimals. It's .7625.
0.7625.
And Jeremiah, where does that put us on a list of
0.7625.
movies that we've
Oh,
reviewed?
freak! Are you kidding me? It didn't beat that one.
Yep, it looks like it's in between Home Alone, which is a 0.75, and better than The Shining, which
How
is a
the fuck is Home Alone
0.81.
better?
Because Home Alone's great, dude.
Home Alone is great, but guess what? Gladiator is better than Home Alone.
I think it's in the top. It's in the top 10, buddy. Enjoy it.
It depends the
It
season.
knocks Breakfast Club out of the top 10.
It sure did. It sure
Sean, are
did.
you okay with that?
Oh,
I know.
no.
Yeah.
No,
surprised.
actually, you know what?
Another John Hughes.
I'm
is
not gonna
better.
lie. This movie definitely deserves to be at the top of the list. It's a great movie, and yeah, it's. I mean,
You're
it's
okay
great.
with that. You're okay with that, Sean.
Well,
Oh,
Brandon,
yeah, I mean,
Brandon,
Breakfast Club's also a great
Yeah,
movie. I mean,
and
they're all good.
think about this, yo. Just think about this. This is a better score than his other movie that we rated this year, or last year, or this season was Alien.
Hey,
You know, it's there.
listeners out there, I want to know: do you want us to rate or watch it and talk about movies that we don't like, or do you want to listen to us just like rave about movies? I feel like we just like too many movies. We need to watch more Point Breaks.
I think this season we've seriously picked a lot of our favorites.
We picked
Just
epic
saying.
Didn't
movies,
we?
bro.
Yeah.
We picked, like
Yeah.
blocks. One of the things is it has to be a
Buster.
blockbuster, and it's just that
It's got to be a Hollywood Planet.
Yeah, Hollywood Planet blockbuster. But it's like, well, if it's a blockbuster, then it's an epic movie. So, like,
No, we need to
It's
start
like
like
the
doing
odds
like
of that.
2012 or some shit like that.
Or Big Fish.
All right, if you enjoyed our review or a fan of the podcast, we ask you please subscribe wherever you're listening and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. We cannot ask you more emphatically to write a physical review on iTunes. It's very important. Please give us that 5 stars.
Also, leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify. They just have this new rating thing that's happening on Spotify now. So just go there. Everyone's all Spotify'd out. Just put a 5-star into our podcast, 3.5 Gentlemen, and there you go.
I give
You
myself.
can also find us on Instagram at the.gentlemanpodcast. The dot means a lot. You can visit our website at thegentlemanpodcast.com, or if you want to reach out to us, we're happy to receive your emails at hosts@thegentlemanpodcast.com. We would love to hear from you guys about what movies you want us to review. We'll take always audience suggestions. Oh, wait, Jeremiah has one more thing. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. So our next episode, actually, it's kind of been in the coming for a little while. So we're going to be doing a Quentin Tarantino film. You're just going to have to listen to the next episode to
Yeah,
see
the group
which
pick.
one is going to be for our group pick. There you go.
There it is.
And that's going to finish out our 2000s, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And then we're into the 2010s.
And then it's going to be James Bond.
And then we're doing a
Ah.
James Bond movie. All right, well, we'll see you in
Alright.
2 weeks. Thank you for listening.
Cheers.
Cheers, gentlemen.
That was a really good one.
How are we doing?
enjoyed that.
How are we doing cheers when we're all on Zoom?
We just did that. You literally just made a great sound.
I know.
All right. So